BRUCAST is back, baby.
This BRUCAST episode is brought to you by the BRUCAST Store. Explore a store filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with BRUCAST. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Visit now brew-cast.com/store. Link below.
Back with the fire, can't you see the flames? From Deutschland steps comes the BRUCAST name. Voices like thunder breaking all the chains. Unleash the fury like a runaway train.
Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to another BRUCAST episode. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast recommends to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. BRUCAST also on Instagram, X, and TikTok, where I upload shorts with the highlights of the show. So follow now, BRUCAST on Instagram, X, and TikTok. Links in the description below.
Back here we thrive, we survive.
Hey there, BRUCAST fans. Welcome back to another BRUCAST episode. If it's your first time watching the show, please make sure to like and subscribe and comment. Like, if you also, by the way, if you guys comment, like, and subscribe to the video, you're gonna be then running to participate in our giveaway. Yes, we're doing a giveaway at the end of the month in about 15 days from now. One of you who like, comment, and subscribe gonna win something from the BRUCAST store. Yes, either a cap or a mug, who knows? It's something from the BRUCAST store. It's a surprise, and it's a worldwide giveaway. So no matter where you are in the world, we're gonna make sure to deliver the prize to you. Again, all you have to do is comment, like, and subscribe. Great, let's talk about our channel sponsor. Parents, if you've been searching for an app that's both fun and educational for your kids, I've got something exciting to share with you. It's called FunTastic Plus. FunTastic Plus is a free app where education meets entertainment, designed specially for children ages 2 to 12. It's built by experts, completely ad-free and totally safe, so you can feel confident handing your phone or tablet to your little ones. Inside the app, kids will find a world of engaging content, their favorite cartoons, audiobooks and songs to spark imagination, educational games that make and learn fun, all of that to keep them entertained while supporting their development. FunTastic Plus is available on iPhones and iPads and even works offline. So whether you're on the road trip, flying, or just at home, your kids will always have something to enjoy. So if you're ready to give your kids a space that it's both fun and educational, download now FunTastic Plus from the App Store. FunTastic Plus, a safe and ad-free educational platform for kids. Link on the description below. All right, so that's our channel sponsor, FunTastic Plus. Thank you so much. Our guest today is Len May. How are you doing, my friend?
Great, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being on the show. So before anything, I want to show you something. I'm prepared. My collection.
All right. There you go. You got your vinyl.
This is my favorite.
Is that Chris Stapleton?
Do you know him?
Yeah, of course. That was my record of the day last month. So I do, as my hobby for fun, I do something called record of the day. So I have a very large vinyl collection. So I pull out a record and I play that on my turntable and I share with people on social. So yeah, that Chris Stapleton album was my record of the day last month, one of the days. I know it really well.
Yeah, I love that guy. One of my life goals is to see him live one day. I heard it's mind blowing. It's this guy has a special place in my heart. His music has a special place in my heart.
He's a fantastic singer. I mean, his voice, I know he kind of sings country, but if you really look at it, it's very bluesy and very R&B. He's got a very soulful voice. So I agree with you.
So when did you start this record of the day thing? It's a pretty cool idea for someone who enjoys vinyl.
Yeah, I during COVID, so I would just I would make myself lunch and I would pull out an album and I put it on and I was like, listening to it. Then I started sharing it. Hey guys, here's an album that I'm playing right now, and that was it. And I started doing it, and I started writing a book about it. So It's been a few years now.
No way. No way. So what is the book about? Just
It's a record of the day. So the way that I do it is I break down everything about the record. So, what were the reviews when it first came out? What genre is it? What mood does it evoke? My feelings on it, what the critics were, what are the liner notes, who produced it, what year. So it gives you a really comprehensive thing. And in the end, there's a playlist associated with it. So now you can grab the record and you want to play something, you can go through the book and it's associated with a playlist. And now you can, play the playlist of the records that are being recommended.
I really like that, man. I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
I think that because of Spotify, which made music so convenient, like you can listen to anything anytime. It's I mean, it's amazing. Of course, it's amazing. But I'm gonna be honest, it took something away from me. I deeply enjoyed just sorting my music on iTunes, like and looking for the cover and changing the like the descriptions and stuff. Some people look at me like I'm crazy, but there's something to it, and I now I replace that with the vinyl collection. That's what I take. Yeah.
I love it. So it's sort of a meditative thing for me. I love Spotify, and it used to be Pandora back in the. I agree with you. It's very convenient to get music and discover new music, and I also do it on YouTube. But for me, taking an album, opening it up, putting the needle on the vinyl, listening to crackle, reading the liner notes, looking at the pictures, feeling it. There's nothing that maybe it's because I'm old. I don't know, but it's sort of nostalgic. I don't know, but it's a different way to engage with music because you have to get up, you have to flip the record over. It's a different state than just driving the car or doing my playlist.
Yeah. It's I also don't know. It's like it seems that the harder it is to get the thing working, the more pleasure you get out of it. I remember back in the day. Maybe it's nostalgia as well. I'm gonna be honest. It's probably nostalgia. But I had this Nintendo 64, right? And I would just had to blow the cartridge and put the cartridge and find the cables, and it was so much work. But the games were more fun. No, maybe I was just a kid. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know about the games being more fun. I had to do all that work too, but the graphics. I go way back. I used to have an Atari 2600.
Ooh.
If anybody remembers what that looks like, so that is with the graphics were like two bars, and you're doing like tennis. So you're hitting like a little tiny ball that's all out of focus, and you're just hitting it from one bar to another, and that was tennis. That was my video game.
Oh man, I mean, they are amazing. The games for Atari. Besides, I don't know if you played E.T. the game. They had to bury the cartridge because it was such a flop, and Atari tried to hide it from the public. Like, no, everything's fine. The game's selling well, but behind the doors, you're like sending it to landfills to be buried. Did you hear that? It's insane. All right, Len. So, what about we start with an introduction? I think the public knows that you like records, but you're more than a record enthusiastic.
Yeah, I mean that's what I would love to do as my day job, but what I do now, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called EndoDNA. So what we do is we're a decision support platform for healthcare professionals that uses genetics, DNA, and epigenetics to help guide individuals or patients and the doctors to more of a personalized healthcare outcome, so precision health and wellness. I'm a big believer in your DNA sort of is your roadmap, your own health and wellness. And if we can understand what we're genetically predisposed to, we can take specific actions to control the what's called the epigenetic expression or turning on of those genes. So that's kind of a shell of what
And how do you extract the DNA from people?
saliva.
Saliva,
So it's a
okay.
saliva sample. Yeah, you buccal swab, you swab the inside of the cheek, register, we're GDPR and HIPAA compliant. Register, you send the sample to a lab, takes a couple weeks. You will log into your portal, you get your results, or the doctor would, and they would go over your genetic results the same way they would go over your blood work, show you where your genetic predispositions are, and here's what the recommendation doctor would be to address those. Something like as simple as you may have a predisposition to iron deficiency. And if you're thinking of being vegan, well, one of the things that you have to decide on is to supplement that iron because you may not be getting it from food source. Or something like, I'm a really poor metabolizer, so I don't metabolize things well. What do I do about that? Or maybe I have an intolerance to gluten or intolerance to lactose genetically. Uh, how do I make sure that I avoid depression of eliminating things like that?
How different that is from just going to your regular house doctor and doing your annual blood test.
Very different because a blood test just captures a moment in time. So I'll give you an example of myself. Uh, I really get stressed when I'm given blood. Even though it's not the needle, I'm all tattooed, so it's not like, the actual needle, but there's something that happens, when I get extremely stressed. Sometimes I've even passed out given my blood, for my annual physical. So I'm getting my blood work done, and I told, the nurse that I don't do really well with it. She's like, "Ah, don't worry about it." And I'm getting my blood drawn, and I hear somebody saying, "Hey, come here. I need help." Okay, so I guess I was sort of sliding off the chair, and they came to me and they gave me some juice, and I felt better. And she's like, "Oh, well, now we have to continue." I didn't realize they stopped. Okay, fine. I went to get a review with my doctor, functional medical professional, and goes over my blood work and says, "It looks to me like your blood glucose level is a little high." Like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't eat sugar. I don't eat meat. I don't eat sugar. I really watch what I put in my body. So, a most doctors would say, okay, high blood sugar, we have to give you medication to bring your blood sugar down. What she did collaboratively with me, and this is what a blood test would normally show you, high blood sugar, moment in time. What she said is, it could be that the cortisol that was released in your bloodstream because of stress heighten your expression of your blood glucose level. So if you're really concerned about that, I can give you a glucose monitor. Let's monitor that for several weeks and see if it's really true. And it wasn't. I did that and it wasn't. So the difference is when you're capturing a moment in time, there's other factors that may be associated with, like stress. And if you don't know this, and if you're not looking at longitudinal over time, what your genetic predispositions are, what is that epigenetic expression, what is the treatment plan that's being, and also we use AI as well. What about, are there 100 people similar to your genetics that have taken this and showed that it worked, that it was efficacious? So you're building a real history of the person, what they're genetically predisposed to, what their lifestyle choices are, and how to mitigate the expression of things that they.
Hmm. I had no idea that your glucose levels could go up just by stress factors. Oh,
There's a
wow.
lot of different things. Well, there's a lot of different factors. So look, I'll talk about pain as well. So there's a lot of times where people have some inflammation and pain, and maybe they have gut issues. Well, for example, there's a gene called fatty acid amide hydrolase. That gene produces an enzyme that actually metabolizes what's called anandamide. Anandamide, or AEA, is a endogenous endocannabinoid, meaning that we produce that from our brain. And what it's used for is to help maintain what's called homeostasis, so balance within our bodies. And when we have this genotype, a certain genotype that's called homozygous on this gene, that genotype means that we are metabolizing more anandamide than the average person. So we're producing less anandamide than the average person. Okay, so now if we're producing less anandamide than the average person, I'll give you an example of how that shows up in your life. So let's say I'm walking down the street in Cologne and a car comes out of nowhere and almost hits me. Well, I'm going to have that fight or flight experience. So I'm going to have some adrenaline. I'm going to have some dopamine. I'm going to have some norepinephrine. I'm going to have some cortisol. All that is excreted into my bloodstream. Now, when my brain realizes there's no lion chasing me in the jungle, safe, there's a couple things that happen. There's a reuptake of those neurochemicals, and then your brain releases new neurochemicals to get you back to balance or homeostasis. One of those is anandamide. Now, if you're producing less anandamide, or I am because of my genotype, I am not I'm not excreting enough anandamide so that cortisol level can stay longer in my bloodstream. If it stays longer in my bloodstream, there's several things that can happen. It can lower my pH level, make me more acidic. It can actually help express an overactive immune response. So now my immune system is overreacting to that. And what I can feel is inflammation and discomfort, usually starting in my joints. So my ankles, knees, hips, neck, back, etc. And if I have predispositions to gut health issues that are also inflammatory, it can flip those on as well. And now I'm having some IBD and other things that I may be predisposed to because of that stress factor hormone that's staying longer in my bloodstream. So if I go to a regular doctor and I say, I'm having some pain sort of in my arm and my elbow, well, the things that they tell you, and I've had this experience many times, and so that people that I work with, they say, well, we can give you medication for that to reduce the inflammation, or we can give you an injection in that. Okay, well, pain is an indicator. If I'm feeling discomfort or pain, you need to follow down. I didn't hurt my elbow. I wasn't playing tennis. Why am I getting this pain? Why do you want to get rid of my pain? Maybe you want to follow it down and say, well, the root cause of the pain may be the extra cortisol, the stress that is actually creating that overactive immune response. So this is the way the functional medicine or healthcare, that's preventative healthcare, that looks at what's the root cause. They do that in traditional Chinese medicine and other things. Instead of giving you a shot or instead of giving you a pill to numb the pain or remove the pain. And we in Western society have gotten to a point where we're pain averse. You have pain somewhere, we go to a doctor, please give me something to get rid of the pain. And I'm saying that maybe pain is an indicator of something else. The pain is there for a reason. It's telling you, look deeper, follow it to see what the root cause. If we address the root cause, we don't have to numb the symptom. We can get to the cause of the problem.
No, the pain means you're weak. You just need to pop a pill and forget about it.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
Damn, I had no idea. So stress, just stress, normal stress normal stress can make the.
Well, I got to tell you, man. I got to tell you. So when I was a kid, and even now, my mom always told me, she goes, stress is the number one priority. Control your stress, control your responses. Stress causes all the diseases. Well, it's not all the diseases, but stress is a big factor to a lot of autoimmune, to a lot of different conditions. But everything in life, like looking at thousands of genetic tests, I can tell you that it's not just one thing. It's called polygenic. So meaning that there's a combination of things that if you know that somebody has, they're more likely to express that. It's not just one. So, we're very linear in medicine in the Western. So you have this, there's a root cause of this. Now we're going to go get rid of this. But maybe there's a number of factors. So you got to go and check off that actually causes that. So.
Yeah. I was thinking about the lie detector. Like everyone says, like you cannot trust 100% the lie detector. And in my head, it's like, it doesn't even make sense because it does not detect if you're lying or not, detect stress level, but just the fact that you're taking a lie detector test, you're stressed about it. So by nature, it's ridiculous. It should not exist, in my opinion. And as far as I know, people, it's still a thing.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because that's the biggest defense against a lie detector when you go to court. That's what the other lawyer is going to say. Well, my client is highly stressed, and he was or she was stressed going into the test. So the reason why you have some positive answers because my client experiences a lot of anxiety and actually
Mm.
takes medication for anxiety. So you got to throw that test out.
Oh boy. It's insane. I don't know. You watch some movies, you think like it's a supernatural thing. No, it's not. They're just measuring your stress. But that's the thing. I would say that some people they just live with stress and they just don't know they have it. They might have like their jaws are hurting all the time, and that's because they spend the whole day just clenching their jaw. They don't even know why they do that, or their shoulders hurt, and that's because they just have their muscles contracted the whole time, and they do have stress, but they don't know about it. It's not like an acute pain that you can pinpoint. Oh, you can pinpoint the muscles hurting afterwards, but you said that stress can cause so much stuff, but it's not something that I don't think people are so aware about it as they should or they could. I don't know. Do you think it's even possible to do that?
Yeah, it's very possible. So, I mean, you brought up a fantastic example, by the way. I wanted to expand that a little bit. So, there is a couple different stress markers that people need to be aware of. There's one for stress reactivity. So, stress reactivity is how we respond to stress. Some people feel better with stress than others. There's also several markers for PTSD. So not only how you deal with stress, but also how you repeat that feeling of stress all the time in a loop. So people in the military, other people get injured, trauma. And there's another one that is related to slower fear um, response to fear. So meaning that when we had a traumatic event in our life, maybe when we were a kid, our brain likes to conserve energy. So it takes that traumatic event and stores it in our subconscious. Under duress, under a lot of stress, it can pull that memory out to the surface. So not only are we dealing with the stress of me almost getting hit by a car, it can pull out a memory of, oh shit, I was on my bicycle when I was 9 years old and the car hit me. And now I'm dealing with that stress level. So that's why I'm saying it's polygenic. So people have a lot of these responses. And you talked about clenching and grinding. So there's a gene for bruxism. It's called bruxism. And if let's say you have a high stressful job, you're an executive, you're not doing anything during the day. You're not practicing mindfulness. You're not doing anything during the day to reduce your stress, but you're going through the motions. You're used to it. When you go to sleep, if you have a predisposition to bruxism, you can be grinding and clenching your teeth. So if that happens, you're absolutely right. I mean, you feel in your jaw, maybe, or maybe some people get used to it. But what happens is if you measure your sleep quality, you're not getting your good quality theta sleep. So you're not doing the reset of your sleep. And you're on this hamster wheel of, again, I'm doing this. And what happens to you? Well, one of the things in restful sleep is, as an example, you're producing more hormones when you sleep. You're producing more testosterone. That's your reset. You're producing more estradiol as a woman. Now, men who are getting up there over 50, like me, for instance, we have to be aware of our testosterone levels. And if I'm not getting my good quality sleep, I'm also reducing my testosterone level, which can lead to a whole bunch of other health issues, all because I'm not dealing with my stress during the day, all because I'm grinding, clenching my teeth at night. And if I have a predisposition to bruxism in my genetics, I know of this about myself, and I can take specific actions to mitigate that.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Oof. I wish more people knew about it, because I do believe the stress is just for many a lifestyle. They're not aware. They just go throughout their lives like with bruxism or all of those other symptoms that we talked about, and it's just their life, that's who they are, you know, like they don't even know that there's a life without it. So let me ask you that, is it possible to live a stress-free life?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a monk, even though I had I had a few monks on my own show. They used to be monks, and they said even in that,
Ooh.
uh, just doing meditating all day long and doing that stuff, there is a level of stress. It's a work in progress. Like we're part of the human condition, and the more that we know about ourselves, the more action we can take. It's the people that don't do anything. We're in the middle of a clinical trial right now for Alzheimer's. So
Mhm.
we're working with a pharmaceutical company. They have a drug called TB006 for Alzheimer's. And one of the things that they discovered is that there is an enzyme called galactin 3 that creates something called amyloid plaque. So amyloid plaque is the plaque that clogs our arteries in our heart, that what creates, like, heart disease, etc. And a lot of it happens to be from the food that we eat, but some people are more predisposed. Well, that same
Oh.
plaque is in your brain. And if you have a genetic predisposition to Alzheimer's and dementia, but you also live a lifestyle of certain food that you consume, that amyloid plaque, you're giving yourself a 5x chance of experiencing Alzheimer's because you're genetically predisposed to it, and your lifestyle is adding to that. So that's one of the things where your genetics can give you a roadmap of sort of your own potholes are that are in your road that you're aware of. You make lifestyle choices, change that. A lot of people believe that it's in our DNA. All right, it's in our DNA. But I think people don't understand that our genetics are, when we're born, we get 50% from our mother, 50% from our father, and then maybe about 20, 25% are turned on. So things like our skin color, our eye color, our hair color, a lot of the other genetic predispositions get turned on based on lifestyle choices. So, what are those lifestyle choices? Well, food. Food is the biggest one. What things we put in our body? How do we supplement ourselves? What are the nutrients that we're receiving? Are we actually eating real food? Are we eating, not real food? So those are some things. The second thing is the exposure to things like pesticides, heavy metals, other things that we can be exposed to. That can change our epigenetic expression of our genetics, and also our own neurochemistry. You're talking about stress. Well, our own neurochemicals that we excrete, that can actually send messages and trigger the epigenetic expression of our genome. So if we know this about ourselves, I kind of look at it as our GPS of life. Now we know which roads to take, which roads to avoid. But if we're going through life blindly, we really keep stepping in the same pothole all the time.
Mm. Could you be more specific on which foods exactly help are bad for Alzheimer's, or you should prevent if you think you have like dementia and Alzheimer's in your family?
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with the same exact foods that you would eat that clog your arteries in your heart.
McDonald's,
So
basically.
fast food, not real food, processed food, like anything that is processed, anything that's enriched. So in the United States, where I live, we do a really bad job in this food fortification. So enriching foods, like enriching our breads and our grains. Enriched foods is not real grain. So you're getting enriched bread and enriched pasta. You want to avoid that kind of stuff because it's simple carbohydrates, things that don't metabolize well. You know, like I said, additives and processed foods, seed oils, things of that nature. All these things will clog your heart arteries over time as well. Once you started eating saturated fats and all those things, after a while, and it's not for everybody, it's who have genetic predispositions, but they start, getting your arteries hardened. So all that amyloid plaque becomes hard, and it's much more difficult for your blood to get through that. Well, that's what happens in our neurotransmitters as well. they start getting that amyloid plaque and it's getting smaller and smaller for those messages get back and forth to your neurons to your synapse, and that triggers Alzheimer's. That those messages don't go through, so you're thinking or your brain is trying to send a message, but it doesn't go through because it doesn't have enough of that space. So just eat like the way that I would normally tell people, if something is not on, if you go to your supermarket, if it's not on the end of the aisles, refrigerator, it's something in the middle that has like all these additives. I would say that try to avoid those kind of foods.
Can't you balance it out with exercises because it helps, right?
Absolutely. Exercise is a must. You need to exercise, you need to move your body, but it doesn't change the fact that you have that your
The
arteries can still
predisposition, yeah,
pump.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like if you're still eating the foods that you shouldn't be eating, you're exercising, it doesn't mean that that food is still not going to affect your epigenetic expression of that. There's a lot of people who are not overweight, who are in good health. My dad was, he looked outwardly like he was in really good health. He wasn't eating a lot of meat, a lot of steak, a lot of like he's just eating a lot. He was also smoking cigarettes at the time, and he had an issue with the heart, and he had to get stents put in his arteries. And once he did that, he totally changed. Stopped smoking. He changed his whole diet. Why wait till you have an issue when you know that you can prevent that? And now that I know that I have that genetically in my family, I need to do a better job of preventing those things.
I recently read that two new discoveries have been made on Alzheimer's. One of them is sugar. The more sugar you eat, the more likely you'll develop Alzheimer's later in life. And the other one is still a little bit puzzling to me, is nose picking. Are any of those things true?
I don't know about the nose picking one, but that's really funny. That is really funny. I'm going to research that. But the sugar, absolutely. Refined sugar is one of the worst things that you can put in your body.
Ooh.
We get glucose from our food, fructose. We get sugar from fruit, great sugar, but refined sugar is one of the worst. First of all, cancer eats sugar. You're feeding all that. And to answer your question about this notion of eating certain foods, well, there's a gene called APOE4. That gene says you are 5x more likely to develop Alzheimer's. You're 10x if you do certain things in your lifestyle, meaning eating lots of simple carbohydrates that convert to glucose anyway. You're eating sugar. You're eating processed foods. All the things that we talked about. That gives you a more likely chance, regardless if you work out or not. You can still experience those genetic predispositions. And the thing also that I want to mention is also these GLP-1s, right? So people are taking these products to help lose weight. I have nothing against pharmaceuticals. I think they've been exceptionally helpful, but we as human beings always look for shortcuts. What can we do to shorten the path? I don't mind that being sort of, hey, it's a quick shake for you. If it shakes you up and you're taking a GLP-1, great. But if you're going to depend on that as something you're going to do for your lifestyle without doing other things, you may experience issues. One of the things that I've read and I've talked to doctors a lot is there's a lot of older people that are coming into hospitals with fractures. They're falling down much more, they're breaking bones. Well, the GLP-1s, some of them, they actually reduce not only your fat content, but reduce bone density, muscle mass. So one of the things that doctors need to be doing is telling their patients if they're on a GLP-1, like Ozempic or whatever that is, that they also need to do a DEXA scan, which looks at your bone density, your muscle mass, etc., and then invite them to do some resistance training. So they also are working their muscles and bone density and not just losing, weight that's that's important for them to maintain that muscle mass and bone density. So we have to do a better job. Not me. I'm not a doctor, but doctors, healthcare professionals need to do a better job of communicating and collaborating with their patients. And I don't blame doctors. They have 100 patients or hundreds of patients. I'm my own patient. So if the more information I know to myself, the more I can collaborate with my healthcare professional and we'll be in partnership for my own healthcare journey.
Hmm. I saw this TikTok the other day of this old lady. First day at the gym, I don't know, she was like 70, 80, something like that. And she was arriving at the gym like all slowly and, hunched and looking around, smiling like that. And then they show the progression, right? Arriving at the gym, day 10, and then arriving at the gym, day 30, and by the day 30 she was already like walking normally, and like it felt like she got 10, 20 years younger. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but the whole point of the TikTok was like to prove how exercises do help even later in life with your mobility, and I think this just proves what you said.
Exercise, good food and exercise are two things that you can do to control your health span. There's a big push in the world on longevity. Everybody's talking about longevity. Well, I had an aunt that passed away uh, now almost a year ago. She was 102 years old. I can tell you
Bro.
that the last 15 years of her life wasn't really living, at least 10. She was existing, and just because we're talking about longevity, I don't want to live my last 10 to 15 years of my life in a diaper and I'm existing. It's not really living. What you want to do is you want to work on health span. Make sure that you live as long as possible at the health as healthy as you possibly can. So exercise is extremely important for older people. Walking and walking like incline walking, moving not just in a flat line, maybe going a little hike here and there, nothing major. But the more you move, swimming, those kind of exercises, you're working all your muscles. You're doing resistance and cross training, all that helps. If you look at the blue zones, what they were looking at, where people live the longest, not diet is not really similar. There's a lot of places that have different diets, but one of the things, two things that are very similar between the blue zones is the level of activity. So people move, they walk. Santorini, they have to walk up steps here and there and hills. And the other thing is the sense of community. And I think that's a big missing element in longevity and health span: community, connecting with people, laughing, having those relationships with individuals. That helps our neurochemistry to fire better, and our brain, our body, everything is interconnected. So having that sense of community is really important as well.
Well, I have 10,000 friends on Instagram. It means they're gonna live a long time. No, I'm joking. Len, going back a little bit to your DNA work, right? I'm still very interested on that. A few years ago, there was this huge scam from this lady. Now I forgot the name, but she claimed that she could just take a drop of her blood and discover if you had cancer and all sorts of things. I would like to ask you, how far in the future can you discover disease? How magical is DNA when it comes to preventing those diseases? Because accordingly to her, it was like the Holy Grail, but it was also a scam. So I'm confused.
Yeah, I watched the movie. I know
Anne.
what you're talking.
I think her name was Anne. Yeah, Anna,
Anne.
something like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have to be really careful with understanding genetics, because genetics are just a predisposition. So it gives you the possibilities of maybe you can have this, but it doesn't mean that you're going to express this. You have to be very cautious not to use a correlation of a one-to-one between your genetic predisposition and the causation of epigenetic expression. One of the things that is important is just because you have a genetic predisposition to something, it doesn't mean that it's going to express itself. So you may have a predisposition, or I may have a predisposition to heart disease. Okay, well, I know this about myself because I have certain genes and it runs in my family. But if my lifestyle choices are, I'm going to eat a lot of leafy vegetables, I'm going to avoid saturated fats, I'm going to avoid other things in my lifestyle that can lead to the expression of that disease, then I can mitigate that so it doesn't turn on. So, are genetics a good predictor? Yeah, they're a very good predictor, but they should not be used in a silo by itself. Genetics with your biomarkers, with your lifestyle choices, with your family history. You're taking a full account of all those things, and then you're making lifestyle choices to be able to avoid the things that you know about yourself. Even things like this. I'll give you another example. So one of our tests looks at genetic predispositions to opioid dependence. So if you're going into surgery, and I have an orthopedic surgeon that sees about 600 patients a month. And they used to, you get your surgery, you get your bottle of opioids that are recommended to you. And they didn't know a lot of people would express that genetic predisposition to opiate dependence and start getting hooked on opioids. And, next. And that's how when this epidemic really started. So if they look to see that you have a genetic predisposition to opiate dependence, what they do is they give you one opiate after surgery, then put you on something else for the rest of your time, the next 3 to 4 days or 5 days, whenever you need to recover. Maybe they'll do something like cannabidol, CBD, or maybe they'll do an ibuprofen instead, but they make sure they don't give somebody the thing that can express the predisposition to opiate dependence.
That sounds like a good deal. So they're not doing that right now.
They're doing it right now, yes.
Oh, they are. Okay, that's great. Okay. I think. I mean, I'm not in part of this world, right? Medicine, doctors, and stuff. I think it's extremely hard to navigate and understand all the things that my body needs. I take a couple of vitamins. What did I take again? Magnesium, zinc, something like that every day, like fish oil. And I believe I'm doing what my body needs, what my heart needs, but I don't know. I'm just, it's all about guesswork, right? I already mentioned that in the podcast a couple of times. How cool would it be to have like in your Apple Watch just a couple of meters, like you need to eat that, and that in order to balance things out and be healthy. You need to do this amount of exercise. I don't know, 2 more hours of exercise this week, and then you're good. Like precisely in a way that could read your blood and know exactly what is missing. Like there's this whole gamification aspect of things that we've been going through for the past 10 years. You get scores, and for example now in Teslas you get a score of how well you're driving, so this gives you a feedback on how to improve. I think this is missing from the health landscape. Right now, if I need to know how my vitals are, like what I'm missing, what I'm doing good, I need to go to the doctor. And most of the times, the doctors, they don't have time for me. And that sucks. Would you say that this DNA swab that you came up, like, did you came up with? So where did this idea come from?
I mean, DNA testing was done for years before us. We do have patents on DNA. We have patents.
Okay.
We have patents on machine learning and DNA. So
how is the AI part of your process?
Yeah, so I'm going to explain. So right now, you're talking about individualized medicine. We're getting there, and I'll explain how we're going to get there. We can do personalized medicine right now. The personalized medicine is that you're in partnership with your healthcare professional. So in an ideal world, what you would do is you would do a whole genome test, then you would do all your blood work. So once you have both of those, and maybe you have your biological age, which I can go into too. So now, as you look at your genetic predispositions, you look at your blood work, you look at those things, you are given a treatment plan. Here's what you need to do. This is what Len May needs to do based on those factors. Now, the most important thing, or almost as important, is the feedback loop. How well is this protocol working for me? So the way that I would respond back is, you talking about gamifications, I would come back and say, I'm feeling better. My pain or whatever is subsiding. So that's your PRO, patient reported outcome. The second thing is your biomarkers. So you talk about wearable device data, what changes have been made to my heart rate variability, etc. What are those biomarker changes? Uh, Third of all, what are my changes to my epigenome? So the what's called methylation. What is being added? What's being subtracted? So I can see that my protocol that I'm on is actually working. So now where the AI comes in, it takes all that information, goes to the cloud, says, okay, for Len, this is what seems to be working. All his vitals are coming up better. And is going to come back and say, the next person that has a similar genetic profile to me, this should be the protocol that's being recommended to that person. And that's what the doctor receives. And the doctor can say, I like 90% of this, but 10% I want to change. Great. You can do that. Now the AI is going to learn from that change and give you better predictive inferences. So bookends that experience and makes it that way. Now, that's personalized medicine. That's what we can do today. What you're talking about also, as I would refer to, as individualized medicine. And the individualized medicine, there are several companies around the world. I think the company that's the has the highest progression in this, it's a company out of Israel, Nanobot technology. So one of the things that they're experimenting right now,
Nanobots?
nanobots, yeah.
Oh my.
How to
Okay.
how to inject a nanobot into your blood, into your body. This will be your nano monitoring system. It's not detected. It's not going to interfere with anything that's in your body, but it constantly monitors your body to give you that thing. Oh, bro, you don't have you're missing this, or you have too much this. It communicates with you. Look, my dad has high blood sugar, diabetes. He wears a glucose monitor, and when he eats something that's too much sugar, it beeps. It tells him that. So there's already technology that's that, but this is taking it a step further. That's your own individual doctor that is monitoring everything you do in your body in real time, communicates back to you and says, hey, Len, do this, and can also communicate back to your doctor on the things that you need. So that's the future.
That's what I need. That's what I need. Instant feedback, instant gratification. It's like The Sims. I'm not sure if you play The Sims. You always have the life bars of like all the things that The Sims need to do in order to be helped. That's what I need in my Apple Watch with all the. This guy, Brian Johnson. I'm sure he has it already. I'm sure, man. This guy is living 2030 or so. How long do you think that he's gonna live, Brian Johnson?
How long is what?
He's gonna live because he's doing all the protocols, all the things that's humanly possible to extend his life, right?
I think, look, I know he's sharing what he's doing, and I've been following, but there's a certain thing that we have genetically that we predispose. You can only live as long as you are genetically predisposed to live. You can change your genome. You can change the expression of that. So he can maximize his lifespan for what he's allocated for Brian Johnson. But until we do genetic changes, we as a human race, we're only predisposed to a certain thing. Now, look, it can change because there are mammals in this world that live longer. There's mammals, certain whales, certain sharks, certain other animals that have lived for a couple hundred years. So it's possible. And there's technology called CRISPR. I don't know if you're familiar with this or not.
No.
But so CRISPR technology allows you to do gene editing. And so we can go in an embryonic state and see what the embryo is genetically predisposed to. So let's say that the embryo has some disease markers, like genetic disease, like maybe sickle cell or Down syndrome or things like that. We, with this technology, can go in and edit the genome and change it. So remove the extra chromosome, change that genetic predisposition. And now that child doesn't have to have the genetic disease that they already are, getting through conception. So once we do gene editing, there's a lot more that we can do. Now, with gene editing, it opens it up for other issues. There are countries like China who have tried genetic editing to make the perfect human
Captain
soldier.
American.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to balance it of how do we get to a point where we're getting rid of just diseases and not making the next Captain America for a country that's going to have thousands of Captain Americas or millions of Captain Americas that are going to go in and conquer the world.
But wait a minute, Lens. What's going on there in China? Did they succeed? Like they're actually doing it? Is that real?
I don't know because it's all enclosed.
Oh my
But
god!
they've done that with animals. They've done that with animals.
Oh my god! The Chinese—they're creating superhumans and super. I'm not surprised, to be honest. I'm not surprised. I heard rumors from I I listened to a lot of those alien stories and how the aliens are working with the government and how the aliens are working with the China. They are modifying our genes and how look. It's not every day that I have a DNA specialist on the podcast that I need to ask you. What about the trash DNA, the part of our DNA that supposedly doesn't have any purpose? Accordingly to the ancient alien astronauts, I don't know, the guys from History Channel, this is actually alien DNA.
Yeah, I don't know. I can tell you this. Evolution is an interesting thing. So think about it this way. We have an appendix. What is the use of our appendix? I have no idea. We may not need it at all. We absolutely don't need it because when the appendix gets inflamed, it gets removed. But at some point in evolution of a human being, we use the appendix. So as evolution happens, maybe there are certain genes we no longer need, but they're still in our bodies, which is not good because it creates senescence. Senescence is the thing that really ages us. It's having these zombie cells that actually, get a lot of ATP, so energy from our mitochondria, for cells that really don't need that energy, and that helps that reduces the energy that we're producing from our mitochondria. Our mitochondria stops producing all that energy, and we stop producing new cells, and we age, and we die. So there's a way to be able to modify that. But I think evolution is an interesting thing. There are some things that probably we have that we don't we evolved out of, but they're still there. Uh, but there's other things that we have that we don't know that we have that we evolved with. Like we have receptors. We have nicotine receptors. We have endocannabinoid receptors. And, we talk about, we have a test that looks at your endocannabinoid system having to do with cannabis, basically. And people are like, oh, that's a drug and it's whatever people have an idea of what cannabis is. But if we didn't need this, why would we have receptors in our brain or our body for the phytocannabinoids? And the reason for that is because we produce our own endogenous endocannabinoids, and we have deficiencies in what we produce ourselves. Luckily, we have plant medicine that we can actually consume, binds our receptors, and releases our own neurochemistry. And I think this is what people get wrong all the time when they talk about exogenous drugs and substances. They don't understand that and we synthesize that in the pharmaceutical industry, create an alkaloid or something of that medicine. Now, with cocaine, in the United States, it's a Schedule II narcotic, meaning that it does have specific medicinal purposes, very few. So we use cocaine, lidocaine, etc., in medicine. But how does it work? Well, when somebody consumes the ligand from the plant, the cocaine, it binds to your dopamine receptors and it squirts a bunch of dopamine into your bloodstream. And it blocks the reuptake of the dopamine. So now your brain is getting all that dopamine. And the dopamine is probably the most addictive substance that we can produce. We all, our brain needs it. So at some point, there's a big reuptake of the dopamine. And now your brain says, wait a second, I like that a lot. Give me more of that. And it starts sending signals for you, and it triggers people that have dependence genes, people have the impulsivity genes, people have it triggers and it says, signal, I want more of that. I want more of that. So now you start getting on a cycle of taking the exogenous substance to replace the endogenous substance. And this is how a lot of drugs work. But if we don't have a receptor for that, then maybe our body doesn't need it. But if we take cannabis, we have CB1, CB2 receptors. So if we take just enough, if we're deficient in that, now we're stimulating our own production of endogenous endocannabinoids.
So, from my understanding, you're implying that we do not have the receptor for certain substances? Is that the case? Which
we do not have receptors for certain substances, so we don't know how they actually work in our body. So I'll give you an example. Right now, there's a lot of research going on in psilocybin mushrooms. So psilocybin, they call them magic mushrooms, or that's the active ingredient is psilocybin that we do not have a receptor for, but it does something in our brain neurology that changes our brain chemistry. We're trying to figure out how that works. So there is a substance called psilocin, which is the alkaloid of psilocybin, and somehow it creates neuroplasticity. So new neurons to be able to fire and creates new thoughts, new patterns of thoughts for us. And we're trying to figure out how that works. So we're still in the early stages of trying to figure out how some of these substances work. But if you think about it, they still come from nature. So we have this interesting connection to nature. Plants communicate, they communicate with us. And in the pharmaceutical industry, to scale, takes whatever the ingredients are in that plant, synthesizes it, and narrows it down. So, like for instance, with cannabis, instead of looking at the 400 elements that are in the plant, they synthesize that to one, like delta 9 THC, and they created a pill called Marinol. Well, they did that for during the AIDS epidemic and some of the cancer that were in a lot of pain, and it didn't work. Like it made him sedated, but it didn't work for what the intent of the actual plant was, because it's called the entourage effect. So it has a lot of different components to it, not just one that's creating the changes. So if you're isolating one molecule, you may be leaving a lot of the other molecules that come with the plant from getting the experience that you need.
Yeah, it's chemistry, right? Like sometimes you have the elements, you need to have the elements mixing up in order to cause the effect, I guess. So we do have receptors for cannabis in our brains, right? What was the term they use? What's the name of this receptor?
Yeah. So the way cannabis works, can I give you like a 30-second overview?
Of course.
Okay. So we have this thing called the endocannabinoid system.
Okay.
So the endocannabinoid system was discovered in 1992 by Dr. Raphael Mechoulam, who passed away about a year ago. He's an Israeli scientist. And the system is our primary regulating system to help maintain what's called homeostasis within our bodies. And the way that it does that, it gets signals from the other systems, some like from our immune system, from our endocrine system, and it sends that signal up the central nervous system to our brain, like sort of like salmon swimming upstream. And then when it hits our brain releases endogenous endocannabinoids. The two that it releases, I already mentioned one, anandamide. So the word anandamide means bliss in Sanskrit. This is our bliss molecule. We release that, like they call the runner's high. If we're exercising, we're seeing something exciting, we get anandamide in our brain. It gives us that feeling of euphoria or pleasure, one of them. The second one is called 2AG, and that one is more in the regulation of our bodily functions, so our immune system, our digestive system, etc. So when we are deficient in our own endogenous endocannabinoids, when we're not producing enough of our own, the plant can modify and replicate that. So the way that it works is when we get what's called decarboxylated, means that we heat the plant, it drops the acid molecule. Now it's a perfect shape to bind to what's called the CB1 receptor. The CB1 receptors are located mostly in our brain and our central nervous system. So when that plant, uh, the delta 9 THC, when it binds to the CB1 receptor, it releases more anandamide. When you consume CBD, it binds to your uh, CB2 receptors, or has an affinity for the CB2 receptors, like I said, which are located in your immune digestive system, and it releases 2AG. So you can supplement for what you're naturally deficient in by consuming the plant. Now, the trick is getting the right dose. If you take too much, it actually can do the opposite. It can trigger an adverse effect. So some people have adverse effects from consuming phytocannabinoids because they've taken too much and triggered their epigenetic expression. And some people take not enough, so they're not actually getting the beneficial amount. So that's kind of how it works.
Do you think we all need a little bit? Or we can go through life without taking it?
People can go through life without taking it. Some people have great endocannabinoid systems that are well balanced. So it's an individual thing. If you feel you need that, and by the way, we have a test for that too. If you feel you need that, then for sure consume. If you don't feel you need that, and your body chemistry and everything tells you don't, then don't consume.
Bring the nanobots. I want the nanobots.
That's the future, man. That's the future. It's look, we already have Neuralink, right? So it's the brain implant from Elon Musk's company. And the things they're doing right now, they have it's amazing the research that's coming out of some of the countries and some of the scientists and work in Israel and the US and a couple other things. They've already started creating surgery that's non-invasive. They're starting creating implants. Germany has a fantastic new development of creating gel implants. So you can actually go in with a gel, inject a gel, and that creates a new meniscus for your knee, and that creates new tissue. It's fantastic, the amount of technology that's coming out. So yeah, I mean, collaborating with scientists in the world is the difficult thing. Like everybody wants their own credit. Oh, I want my name on it. But if we all work together as a democracy of science and share their scientific discoveries with each other, I think we can, accelerate much quicker.
You see that happening?
Not at all. No way.
Yeah.
No, it's not, the only way it's going to happen quicker is with AI. So what's going to happen is the AI is going to learn from all the different research that's going on in the world, and now you can interrogate the genome, which is, by the way, what we have. You can ask the genome questions. Show me all of Len's inflammatory markers. Cross-reference them with Len's, how Len metabolizes, these kind of things. But the AI has to get all those other studies from all over the world and bring them in. So it's going to happen at some point.
It's going to happen at some point. All right. Well, Len, thank you so much. It was a pleasure, man. What an exciting episode. I really enjoyed it. Do you have any final remarks? Anything else that you'd like to say?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to let people know that we didn't touch on this, but when I was a kid, I was diagnosed with ADHD, ADD without the H. I was the kind of kid that would sit in class and all my windows, I'll be thinking other things. The teacher will call on me, and I wasn't paying attention. So they put me on prescription medication, and I hated it. So I discovered different things that I can do for myself, and I haven't taken prescription medication since I was 14, 15, and I'm 53 right now. So I've discovered other things, and over the years, I started working with very, very high functioning executives, very successful people on trying to create frameworks. First of all, ADHD, there's some genotypes for that. You can see if you're genetically predisposed to that, because a lot of people think they have ADD, but they may not. It's environmental ADD. The second thing is I work with systems, creating systems and helping people use their ADHD or ADD as a superpower. Instead of looking at yourself as you have a disorder, you look at yourself as you have a superpower because you can multitask and do all those things. So those are something else that I work with people individually under my practice to help people use that ADD as a super under Len May coaching.
Oh, that's a yeah. ADD is a superpower. I heard that before, and but I heard with ADHD and autism. No, it was autism. Autism is a superpower if you channel it well. I don't know how different it is. Anyway, Len, thank you so much. Again, it was a pleasure, man, and thank you so much. Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
All right, everyone. Go listen to Chris Stapleton and take care. Subscribe, like, and comment. See you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rank the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast is recommended to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. Check out now the BRUCAST store, Explore store, filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with BRUCAST. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Buy now at brew-cast.com/store. Again, that's brew-cast.com/store. Link on the description below. Be a BRUCAST model and get free stuff. We'd love to see how you and your loved ones enjoy BRUCAST. Snap a picture of yourself, your family, your friends, or even your pets wearing BRUCAST merch, or watching an episode of the show, and send it to us and become part of BRUCAST. We will feature you and your pictures at the end of every episode, just like the ones you're seeing on the screen right now. You can upload your pictures at brew-cast.com/contact or tag us on social media. Alright everyone, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much and see you next time. Bye bye.